Welcome to eDiscovery Leaders Live, where I get the chance to chat with luminaries in eDiscovery and related areas.
Welcome to eDiscovery Leaders Live, hosted by ACEDS and sponsored by Reveal. I am George Socia, Senior Vice President of Brand Awareness at Reveal. Each Friday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern, I host an episode of eDiscovery Leaders Live where I get the chance to chat with luminaries in eDiscovery and related areas. Past episodes are available on the Reveal website. Go to revealdata.com, select Resources, and then select eDiscovery Leaders Live Chat. Our guest this week is Kevin Clark, Litigation Support Manager at Thompson & Knight. I could go through Kevin's whole CV and bio, but we wouldn't have time for much else, so I'll hit some highlights here. At Thompson & Knight, Kevin provides technical and business management expertise for the lit support team, while delivering consultation on e-discovery, information privacy, data security, and governance for attorneys and clients. He has extensive experience in all areas of e-discovery, from data collection all the way through production. He previously oversaw the discovery operations and managed review services on the vendor services side. This included supervision of project management teams, coordination of e-discovery vendors, and ensuring best-in-class delivery to clients. He has significant experience managing complex, large-scale matters of teams up to 250, and has spent considerable time consulting with clients and law firms on e-discovery issues and strategies, as well as developing alternative solutions for clients. Currently, Kevin, in addition to being the support manager at Thompson Knight, is on the Masters Conference Advisory Board and is Vice President of the ACEDS North Texas chapter. He's also involved with the Sedona Conference, working on defensibility of process with Working Group Number 1, and is a council member at Town of Sunnyvale, Texas. Kevin has served as co-chair of the DC Bar Litigation Section Steering Committee. He was previously chair of the DC Bar eDiscovery and Information Governance Committee and co-chair of EDRM's Metrics Group. He's got a PMP, a Six Sigma Green Belt, ACEDS, of course, and CIPP-US. He serves as well as an advisory board member for his alma mater, Chicago-Kent College of Law's eDiscovery Institute. And if that weren't enough, has provided pro bono representation to veterans at the U.S. Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims. He received his JD in 2000, is an active member of the bar in Texas, Illinois, and the District of Columbia, as well as a solicitor in England and Wales. Kevin, welcome.
Thank you for having me, George, and it's a pleasure to be on your show here.
We're glad to have you here. I'd like to start by diving in and having you talk about what is lit support at a law firm. What is its function? How does it operate? What does a lit support manager do there?
Right. Okay. So, great question. And in my role as lit support manager, I handle everything with regards to e-discovery. We do everything from collections all the way to production, and then also we take care of trial. But I would say the bigger thing is we're just problem solvers. Similar to most e-discovery practitioners out there, legal technology professionals, we're problem solvers. So whenever there's an issue, maybe it'll go to IT first, maybe it'll go to the secretaries, it'll go to paralegals, but it kind of ends up on our doorstep, and we get to solve the problems of just these interesting issues we have.
Yeah, I was going to ask, lit support sits in different places in different law firms, sometimes reporting to IT, sometimes to head of litigation, sometimes it's its own report directly up to senior leadership. How are things organized where you are, to the extent you can talk
Right,
about that?
right. Yeah, so we report directly to the COO, and it is we've had those discussions before. Should we be under a practice group, under the trial practice group? Should we be under IT? Where should we be? But and again, yes, good point. Different law firms have it organized different ways, and it's there's I don't think one perfect model, but I like how our model is that I report directly to the COO. It gives us flexibility to do what we need to do, because we work with everybody within the law firm. We work with all the different practice groups. We work with the admin. We work with IT, and just kind of being an independent department gives us that freedom to do what we need to do. We can go back into we're basically universal problem solvers. We're like a Swiss Army knife. We have to solve all different types of issues and whatnot.
How many lawyers does Thompson Knight have at this point?
About between 300 and 350.
So does that mean you've got between 300 and 350 bosses? How do you manage that?
It does. It's with any law firm, you have just different unique, you have lots of different bosses, and it's there are clients. So it's on the vendor side, we would have clients, whether it be law firm, whether it be a partner, whether it be a corporation. So it's lots of different clients, and each one has their needs and wants, and their how they have specific expectations that we need to make sure that we handle.
I would imagine part of your role inevitably is going to be helping make sure that those lawyers you're working with, those 300 to 350, and then all the support people who work with them, have the appropriate resources they need for lit support. And
Yes.
invariably, they might have different views of appropriate resources than you do. How do you handle that?
Definitely, and that's just a lot of communication. It's setting expectations, communication. Part of it, we're so technology driven and technology based that it's working closely with IT. And lit support within any law firm, lit support has worked very closely with IT, as well as a lot of the other different departments and practice groups. So it's working together, setting expectations, putting plans in place, and then following those plans, and making sure that we meet those expectations.
Your remit does not stop at the boundaries of litigation support, though, does it? It includes other areas such as knowledge management?
Yes. So I'm helping with the knowledge management initiative at our law firm, and putting together a platform, knowledge management platform. And a lot of that is because litigation support, and you actually see this at a lot of different law firms, because litigation support, our team deals with technology. We deal directly with attorneys, with documents, with data. And so our unique background allows litigation support and e-discovery to basically, we cross into that area. So knowledge management is, modern knowledge management is based on technology. You're using technology to better be able to find documents, to better be able to get your resources and more quickly locate them and use them. Adding efficiencies to the firm. So it definitely crosses into it, and so that's allowed me to get involved and be involved with knowledge management initiatives and putting together different platforms and whatnot.
To what extent do the techniques and the tools from the e-discovery side translate over to or become useful in the knowledge management side?
A lot of it is with searches, with analytics, the analytical and search capabilities. the same technology that you may use on a document review to look for the responsive documents that you may need to produce to their side. The same type of technology and search capabilities would be used within the knowledge management platforms to go find those documents, those resources that the attorneys would need for their cases.
So I imagine that means that to the extent you are rolling out AI capabilities for e-discovery purposes, you may well be rolling out or be considering rolling out the same or comparable capabilities for knowledge management purposes.
Exactly. And there's a lot of great knowledge management technology out there, and they utilize the same type of AI and analytics. Certain DMSs, document management systems, have started to add this type of analytics and AI search capabilities within their systems to help you find these documents. So you'll see basically concept searches. You'll see not really clustering, but concept searches and find similar documents. That type of technology is definitely involved now, or it's being added to the functionality of these DMSs.
You, as well as working within the firm, work with folks at other firms and other organizations to build the e-discovery community. And you've been doing this for quite some time. Why don't you talk with me a little bit about that, about building the e-discovery community?
Okay. So when 4 years ago, when I came to Thompson Knights, I moved from the DC area down to Dallas. And one of the first things I did was to reach out to all the different litigation support and e-discovery directors, the directors and managers and whatnot, the people running these departments in the Dallas area at the major law firms. And we started just talking and create a community and meeting quarterly, just kind of brainstorming, talking, learning. And that it's been a great resource for me, for the others, just within the e-discovery community at this level at the law firms. And we also, I also helped set up the same thing in the DC area. A lot of my old colleagues in DC, and talking to them and trying to create that. They've been able to create a similar community. And it's been great just to bounce off ideas, to learn, to discuss workflows, discuss problems and how people have solved it. I think one thing about our e-discovery industry is this amazing community, and that's at different levels. This amazing community. I think I had mentioned this previously when I've talked to you. I think you've helped create this community back in the day when you created EDRM and what you created just for the legal tech professional, decade ago, 15 years ago. You helped start that community, and there's been different organizations that have helped build this community. But it's an amazing community that we have, and I think you helped create that. It's been fun to try to create this little pocket within the Dallas area of directors and managers that we've been able to share. But I'm kind of following in your footsteps, trying to create that community.
I think that as small a community as we are, there still are a lot of us now, and we don't always know each other as well as we could. So that efforts like that, I think, help immensely. One of the things that you've been involved in for some years now is the Masters Conference. Tell us about your role there, what that is, what you're trying to accomplish.
Right. So I've been involved with the Masters Conference for about 8 or 9 years. And originally it started when I was in Washington, D.C. I started running the D.C. conference. And it's when I moved down to Dallas, I helped create a Masters Conference here in Dallas. It's evolved from one conference, a national conference in DC for many years, to more of a regional conference, in-person conference. And over the last year, it's evolved from an in-person conference to a virtual a virtual conference. But I've been able to help put content together, help get speakers, help just, again, it goes in creating that community. So helping create a master's community, and we've worked closely with ACEDS and other groups to help build this e-discovery community. One project I'm working on right now is a 3-session conference series. It'll be a webinar series that's we're hoping to put together and start off in March. It's going to be with masters and ACEDS, but we're looking at putting together a three panel series. The first one will be on health and wellness. The second one will be on career development, and third one will be on inclusion and diversity. And health and wellness and career development within this quarantine area, this stay at home, work from home during this pandemic. I think both those issues are extremely important to talk about. So stay tuned for more on that. But those are some webinars, some panels we're going to putting together in the near future. But working with Masters Conference has been really great in helping educate other e-discovery professionals, share knowledge. But the main thing is the networking and helping build that community.
One of the things that the Masters Conference has had to do this last year, as has ACEDS, as has anybody who is putting out content and who previously put on in-person conferences, is pivot to online only. How has that transition gone with Masters?
Right. It's been going well. I think the issue now is some people are tired. They have Zoom fatigue.
You can only go to so many Zoom meetings, only do so many webinars. Right?
Exactly. So I think there's a fine line of trying to put out content, trying to create content, trying to educate, trying to give resources to the audience. And then the other side is, just being a burden, being too much and, being counterproductive. So it's a fine line of how much do you do. The links, a traditional conference, each panel will be an hour long. Webinars are typically hour long. But maybe, it seems like maybe being shorter would be better. So like this session here, e-discovery Leaders Live, roughly 20 minutes. I think you've nailed it. That's a good time limit to have on it. So you can keep people's attention.
Right.
So
we have less and less attention span now, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's getting worse. It's getting worse and worse. So it's definitely an issue.
In addition to being active in Masters, you're also active in ACEDS, and especially in your chapter. Tell us a little bit about what all you've been doing there.
So similar, it's trying to educate and try and create that community. Before I discussed the community I've created for the e-discovery and Let's Support directors and managers, that community, that roundtable we've kind of created. But this is more creating for the larger community, any legal support, legal technologist, professional, and just trying to create that community in the Dallas area. The ACEDS chapter was originally called Dallas, but we've actually just changed it to North Texas. And so we're trying to be more inclusive and be broader. We want everybody in the entire area, entire region to join and give them that resource for both education, sharing of knowledge, but also networking. I think networking is so important and such one of the main values of ACEDS.
You recently, with the North Texas chapter, you recently put on a showcase, which we participated in along with 4 other e-discovery software providers. Now, I only have my vantage point into it, but I thought it was an especially successful exercise.
Yes.
What sort of feedback? Describe it a little bit, and then tell me what sort of feedback you've gotten.
Right. So it was the first one. It was actually the model was the first one that was ever done, and as you said, we had 4 different vendors, and we walked through a problem and basically a case, and we walked through, and the vendors each talked about their technology and how they solve the problem. And we did it on Zoom, and then we did a Zoom breakout room for each of the groups, and then we came back together and talked as a larger group, and it went really well. Everybody, you got to choose which vendor you'd like to see, so you could learn about that technology. And sadly, I was only able to watch one. So couldn't see the others. But the feedback we got was really good. People really enjoyed the experience. I think ACEDS, different chapters may be doing this more, doing this showcase, vendor showcase, and but the vendors liked it because they could showcase their technology on a live or a problem. They could walk through the audience on how they'd bring a solution to it, and it was really hands-on. It was really hands-on. So feedback was great, both from the vendors that got to showcase their technologies and also the audience. So I think it's
great. You pointed out in an earlier call we had that the word from 2020 was innovation. Care to expand on innovation in the e-discovery space?
So innovation in the e-discovery place, that's definitely the word of 2020. I really think it's innovation. So it's been, I think, how to better use the technologies that are there, how to better apply it. The technologies, the innovation on the technologies themselves has not really changed that much. The technology hasn't changed, but it's more of how to apply it. I think that learning how to better apply workflows, learning how to apply basically better processes has been a big help in solving problems. As we've gone from working at the law firm to working from home, we've had to better refine our workflows and better refine our processes, and better rely on technologies. So, it's innovation, I think, in itself is just better applying the technologies and the processes.
Earlier in the discussion, you talked about health and wellness and how those issues have been accentuated because of the pandemic and from working at home. How are you all dealing with that as an organization? What suggestions do you have for people on that front?
Right. So, health and wellness is such a big issue right now, not just within the e-discovery community, not just within my department at the law firm. It's an issue that the entire country's facing, the entire workforce is facing. So I think we need to focus on creating a routine. We have regular meetings that we have to get up for, 9 o'clock in the morning. Let's get up and get on this meeting. Let's get out of bed. Let's get going. Let's have regular calls. Let's have team virtual events, happy hours. We have to do stuff to engage and be able to interact, because what's happening is people are getting depressed. People are, getting stuck in ruts. They're becoming more antisocial because they're not really interacting with people. So part of it is setting routine where you have to get out there virtually and talk and meet and do things. Exercising or doing activity is so important. We always encourage activities. We encourage exercise, yoga or running or whatever the activity is. And that's what we'll discuss more on the webinar. But it's the main thing is setting a routine and sticking to it, getting up daily, setting a schedule. I think that is such a big step in fighting the depression that's been happening, the lack of focus, just this antisocial type of behavior that kind of comes from staying at home all the time, and getting stuck at home. So it's a great topic, and we can talk about that a lot longer. But my short answer is get a routine and start to do some activities like yoga or running or some type of exercise.
We just have a few minutes left. I want to turn to one last topic, a question I've asked a number of our guests, and I'll pose to you now, which is the ideal e-discovery platform question. What would your ideal e-discovery platform look like, assuming absolutely no limitations, technological, financial, or any other sort?
Right. So, I think that the main thing is it needs to consolidate different types of data. We have so many data sources, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, different text message apps, WhatsApp. Even now we have, sports applications, Strava. I think it would need to consolidate the data. It have to normalize the data. I think that's a big thing. Following in the footsteps of Internet of Things, where everything is connected, we would need it to be connected and pulled together. I think a lot of times I've heard a comparison to Minority Report. I think Minority Reports, you had the ability to use your hand motions to separate the data and throw it to the side or whatnot. So I think some type of hand motion would be pretty amazing. Actually, I think we've seen that in a lot of different sci-fi movies now, or futuristic movies where the user can start sorting through data by hand motions and pulling it aside and tossing to the side. So I think that would be pretty nice to do that, because you could more quickly sort through and grab what you wanted physically, if the machine could capture that. Something else I think that we really need, our phones are so powerful. Yet a lot of what we have on a phone is not on our workstation, our computers, our laptops, or desktops. And so just more generally, I'd like to see our laptops and desktops mirror some of that technology that are on our phones. An example is voice recognition. I can be driving and compose an email or a text with my voice and send an email. Yet, sitting at my computer, I still have to type it up. And there's some technology. 20 years ago, I remember I used to use Dragon dictation. You probably remember that.
Yep. Dragon dictate.
Yes, so it's been around a long time, but it's not really integrated into operating systems, whether it be Apple iOS or Microsoft Windows or some other type of operating system. So I'd like to see that voice integration, not only just the physical movement maybe be created, but also just more voice technology be integrated into operating systems to make
all data from everywhere of all sorts in a totally hands-free interface.
Yes, and be normalized.
But virtual hands able to do everything interface.
Exactly. Now, and also let me just quickly add,
Mhm.
with analytics automatically being applied and AI automatically being applied, or at least being available, I do think machine learning I think is important. The piece where you still need to look at the data and train it. I think that looking at the data is important to see what's there and not there. You have to see both sides. You can't just look at all responsive. So I think that training, the machine training piece of analytics of an AI type interface should still be there, where you have to look at both sides, what's responsive, what's not responsive, because that gives you a better understanding of the data. It gives you a better understanding of your case, of the issues at hand. If it was all automated and you're only looking at the responsive docs or the responsive data to whatever the issue was, I think you'd have too narrow of a view.
Way too narrow.
Right.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin. Kevin Clark is Litigation Support Manager at Thompson Knight. I am George Socia. This has been eDiscovery Leaders Live, hosted by ACEDS, sponsored by Reveal. Thank you all for joining us today. Please join us next Friday, January 29th, when we talk once again with Wendell Giza, CEO of Reveal. Thanks again, Kevin.
Hey, thanks, George. Thank you, everybody.